Good morning, Hendrik. I'm very happy that you said yes to our little chat, and we had a little chat up front, and now we're diving into your story. You might give us a little intro, who you are, what you do, and then we get into the mood of storytelling.
Yes, let's do this. Happy to be here. Hi, I'm Hendrik. I'm a CEO and co-founder of GoodBytz. So I'm a roboticist on my entire career. So also what we do is we bring robots into the food service industry and have the idea that freshly cooked food should be available at any place, anytime. And we use robotics to make this possible, to create fully automated kitchens that really can serve high quality food in environments like hospitals, universities, workplaces where people work around the clock. And we're doing this now for 4.5 years. First time for me being in this market and like working with people from the food service industry. Have a long history in robotics and like more the classical industry behind me. Oh yeah, that's what I do for now, 4.5 years.
Exciting. I think I saw you guys on, I think it was Hanover Fair with Fanuc, if I remember correctly, at the
Yes.
Fanuc booth, serving hundreds and thousands of people. That caught my eye. So, but we dive into this a little bit later. Maybe you can tell us the early stage, the early beginning of how you got interested in technology in the first place. Very often it is influenced heavily by family, but maybe I let you do the talking.
Yeah, so it always starts, or very often starts very, very early. So my father is an engineer. My mother is coming from like languages and was like translator for like 4, 5, 6 different languages. So I always had like a little bit the choice of doing more tend into the tech direction or into the language direction. And turned out that I hated languages at some point and really loved technology. So as I'm now 38, so at my age, I'm happy to live through all the times of remembering where we got the first computer at home. I also got very much passionate for opening them up, see what's inside. At some point, starting to build some of my own. Actually, my very first job, while I was still somewhere in middle school, I don't know, seventh, eighth grade or so. I had a job at Casio, who built like the watches in IT department, and we're like building up from the ground like the entire computers in there. It was once a week, super nice. Was like the private passion I was doing at my home, but unfortunately at home I always could build like one computer maximum a year because there was not more budget for this. But in this job, I could just do now every day. And that's like for many, many years was like a lot of the passion. What my mother hated actually, always when I had a wish for birthday or Christmas, it was, I don't know, some RAM bar or some new SSD drive or a graphic driver or something else. And she hated this type of gifts because she never understand what it's doing. And as soon as I packed it up, I build it in. She never sees it again. I just see some performance metrics, what's going up. I'm super happy. And she hated this, doing this. But for me, it was like awesome. I do have a very, very different side also. I was extremely into music. I started playing piano when I was like, I think 6 or 7. And over time then learned the trumpet, drums, guitar, bass, and played in many, many bands. Started like more in like classic in school. But then also I think at 16 or 17, started to launch own bands where we were touring a lot in like clubs in the evening, were booked for events, for also like weddings and so on. And when I finished school, I actually was between at the tipping point of become a professional musician or go into like technology and do some kind of engineering, software, physics. Also thought a lot of becoming a physicist, maybe at this point. And I think it was a good decision then tending to go to tech. I always thought, okay, music is something that really brings me joy, really brings me fun. But probably there might be a point in my lifetime where the fun is fading away because it's just like a normal job you need to do. And I'm not sure if I want to do this. From technology, I really feel fascination. And I'm sure I can find always in my life fascination of what I'm doing. So maybe this is a better choice to do this as a profession. And yeah, then I
Wait,
started to go for.
wait.
Yeah,
I have a few questions here.
of course, of course.
Taking out the pace a little bit. The you were mentioning the gift, right? And here as we talked a little bit earlier before the podcast, we both young parents to give something so you can also enjoy seeing it and you can also enjoy seeing the kid interacting with is part of what makes it great to give gifts, right? But then in the end, it's also a little bit of it's a little bit selfish because you would like to see it, you would like to enjoy it, versus you give this gift to your kid and then you never see it again, right? And it may may not last as long as a good pair of, I don't know, a scarf or other timeless clothes, but I think this is she still decided to give it to you. She still decided to give it to you. So I think this is there's a little learning here. But you said that you were able to build a computer once a year. So budget is always a topic. A few of the guests I had, sorry, said that they started becoming an entrepreneur because of their passion for tech or other things. So you do need to do some entrepreneurial things to finance your passion. Uh, the, and you said that you were working for Casio. I do have one of those watches still. I think it's
Yeah.
18 years old. I think this is one of the things that is a classic, and there hasn't been done not much or none at all, like technology, development. So the product seems to be this is like the end idea of how good a watch can be, right? And tell me more about this time of building these kind of things, because the name of the podcast is Building Deep Tech, and I'm always interested in how this got together. Is that doing with friends, doing with your father? And you said you were mentioning early. I have a lot of questions now. You see, you might get the bigger idea of the early stages of the internet. So information is a bit more accessible than it used to be. So maybe you can take us and stay for a few seconds in that time period.
Yeah. Like building computers was just one example. It started much earlier. I loved Lego Technic, for example. I had tons of things I could do together with my father. We also were very much into like building RC cars, like the ones you can drive like somewhere in a parking lot or so on. I don't know. We did maybe eight different or 10 different versions out of this. This was super fun, and the very first time it became a little bit more entrepreneurial and not I was just doing jobs to finance like hobbies and passion in doing this was there was a very nice project in school where you could like build it's not a real fake company, but it was the idea of building everything you need in an organization to build some kind of product and market it and distribute shares. And I think in Germany it's called the Junior Project or so. It's then supervised by the schools, but then you come together with a team of 10 people. You brainstorm for a service or for a kind of a product. And then for a year, you build a real business out of this. And you then act like you're having company shares. And I think it was like 10 euros, 20 euros per share. You then try to go to friends, to parents, to other people and like sell the shares that you get them some capital. And then you start really building your idea and pitch this then through multiple stages on like local level and the nation level against all the other companies. We had a super nice idea back then. We somehow got hooked to the idea of, hey, what can we do with recycling? And there's so many things we throw away. How can we up-level this and create a new product out of that? And we came to the idea because we had a car wreckage facility pretty close that we just buy for very little money the chairs from cars, which are normally super high quality in general, how they're built. And there's so much engineering and tech going in that you have like a nice seating that is ergonomic. And we rebuilt them to designer chairs and like refurbish them from the entire textile around this, then build like a construction underneath where you have like leveling and you have like a nice seating. And actually, when we built the very first prototype, which was super dirty, just some wood constructions, we find out, hey, if you elevate a car chair to like a normal chair height, it's one of the most comfiest things you can do. And then we built this project around this, and used a little capital to buy those old chairs. Then we built up a little shop floor in the school where you normally do like mechanical courses or so on. Designed those chair and then sold them to mostly also, of course, parents. We did this. And I, at this time, also you could do every job. So at the beginning, you were like voting, hey, I want to go to the marketing, or I want to learn how like the financing part and so was working. And I immediately wanted to go to the engineering part of, hey, how can we build those stuff? And then also became the technical lead for the team in there. It was super fun. And in the end, I think we met like third place or second place in the German nation level. It was one of the experience I then recommended so many people and classes afterwards who followed us. Because it was a lot of fun to just do this with people, and you get a lot of understanding on like things you normally with an age of, I don't know, maybe it was 15 or so, you mostly don't have around how businesses and functions and like orchestrating small groups who need to work together. And this was amazing at that time.
Sorry, say again, what age year was it?
I think I was 15, roughly. 8th grade, 9th grade or so. Maybe 15, 16, or what age are you normally there? Or 10th, something around this. So yeah, somewhere. And you call it, I think back in gymnasium, I went to a gymnasium in Norderstedt, north of Hamburg, Mittelstufe, it's normally called, before you have like the last 2 or 3 years. And it was like end of Mittelstufe where you could do this, these courses or these businesses.
Amazing. I mean, the opportunities, and as you said, so I mean, this is one of the reasons why I have this podcast, to see what is possible, and being able to sneak into these kind of opportunities to have a peek into this kind of opportunities. What is it, right? What is it? What's out there? Because a lot of things are very abstract. And I remember when I was much younger, there's what do you want to do after school, right? And if you have a very limited menu that has been handed to you in terms of this is what's available, not necessarily because this is the only thing that are available for you, but it's just this is where your focus is on, right? This is what parents and families are doing. Then it's interesting to see that there's other things behind that, right? I very often use the example of, when I finished school, I was aware, but not in a real sense. You can just go to Costa Rica and study and work with turtles, right? It seems very abstract if you're from a little village, or if you're from a little town, or if you're from a big city, but your parents are not going to university. So I think what you guys did, being able to see how a company runs at the age of 15, is totally different than, this is I don't know. This was I think my words are missing here. Awesome, thanks for sharing. And I think it's great that these kind of things exist. I can't remember that we had something like that. You said 10 people.
Yeah, roughly. It's not limited, I think, to the group of people. It shouldn't be too big, of course. That's not a full class of 30 people. That's getting too complicated in there. But you should have enough people to like have like the core departments of like who's collecting the money, who's like doing the overall strategy, who's selling the things, who's building the things. And it's also depending, of course, a little bit on what you're doing. If you have a physical product, then probably it's a little bit larger. If you do like a service or something, also other companies did like some tour guides for like the Hamburg night scene or something like this, then it's a little smaller team. But it was awesome. I hope that they still do this. This was one of the greatest things actually we did in school. And it sounds like that our school were very entrepreneurial thinking and like have like preparing people for a different side of mindset and the work world. But a true reality, unfortunately, this was like the one prime example that was going to this direction. All the other things were like very much more into like the classic path on, hey, how does a perfect career path are looking like? I just had a couple of weeks ago a podcast where we're talking about this, and I answered about this, what actually is the worst advice somebody gave you in life. And I was remembering, I think it was somewhere in 11th grade or so, a couple of years before end of school, they offered this like assessment center or interview training for people in the school. So you could just pick any company you think you might want to work in the future for. Then you write your CV, you write like a motivation letter, and then you send it to somebody, and then they invited experts from some other companies to review this, to run like an interview session with you and just train a little bit on how you can prepare this. But the people who were doing this, unfortunately, were the most uninspiring people you can imagine. It was some like middle managers in a bank from like a mid-sized town. And everything was like shaped in there. You have to have your perfect resume to, in the end, be successful to work in one of the large companies like a Siemens, or I think at this time I choose Rolls-Royce, because I also was very much into engines of aviations. I just loved the tech. So I think, hey, working with engines probably cool. So let's choose this. But the way they educated us and talked about this, everything seemed like, okay, this is your primary goal in life, to have like a resume that can bring you into this large corporations and then level up. It just needs to be seamless. And you need to worry about that you don't have any extractions and things you just mentioned, and never think about like working with turtles in Costa Rica, because this is not like a line like this big corporates, want to see. And looking back, I hated this. At this time, it was for me like, okay, this probably is how it's gonna work, and you need to take care of what you're doing, and it's like input you got to take. But when I look back to this, it was like the worst to like bring people only into the direction of your CV is the most important thing that matters in here, and preparing people for the job.
I mean, if we're being honest, this was part of how a lot of things had been built over decades, right? So we trained our HR departments, we trained our managers to get this kind of workforce, right? But nowadays everything is changing, and a lot of people reaching out to me. I always say, look, trying to build a portfolio, a proof of work, because in the very end, and a lot of people, a lot of companies still recruit like this, right? I mean, there's a shift happening at the moment, but a lot of companies used to and still do recruit like this. But what's actually useful, and now that you're having your own company and you're hiring, I think you mentioned earlier on that you guys are like 130 people. So there's a lot of hiring involved, and getting good people is very hard. So it's good to not have the perfect CV rather than working on great things and being able to document this and show this portfolio. Because when you now need this kind of people, but the way you get to this kind of position, the CV now, in my opinion at least, is these are the projects I have been involved with. This was my impact within the project. This is what I have been responsible for. And because it's very hard to make the transition from something that you learned and something that you're able to apply. And you as a founder, you are looking for someone who is able to apply, right? And being on your own and being responsible for your own actions. I think this is something that you would like to have, these kind of people, I guess.
Yeah. When especially like in the early days, when I was really, really deep involved into like finding the first important people for the team, especially when I was looking for engineers, if people come to me and want to be a developer and have like finished university, also like being at the top universities you find in Germany or in Europe, like ETH or TUM in Munich, and I asked them, what have they built ever as a side activity for fun? What have they built at home? And they don't have any side project, and they only run the university courses and so on. You need to take a look at the CV. Sometimes I don't actually care what the university is and what grades are there, if they can show me some of the amazing projects they have built. One person who have joined us, I think, in the area of 15 to 20 people, who still works here as a software developer. He had so many amazing and crazy projects. For example, he built a bed at home where he had, instead of all the wooden frames, he had like a one-dimensional scale. And he used this to write then a software to analyze his sleeping profiles and how he's moving. And he could like make a force vector field out of those scales to see if he's often moving from the left to the right. And there was not a real reason behind this, but he thought, hey, how super interesting is if I could like not only have like smart gears or other things that tell me, hey, you had a good sleep. I actually want to know. I want to dive deeper. So I built something by my own. And he that did like tons of those shit. And when he told me this, and the crazy eyes he had about the fascination of doing this shit, I know, okay, you're probably very much at the beginning. You have to learn a lot on how to develop robust code and so on. But we have more senior people. You have everything it takes. So you have the passion you want to learn. You want to do crazy shit. That's all I gotta know. And it was really like 10 minutes of the conversation. I think we in the end talked like 45, maybe an hour. But after 10 minutes, it was clear. Okay, I 100%.
I'm very thankful. This is gold. This is gold for me. Thank you for sharing this anecdote. And I see the excitement in you. You're still reliving the moment of that person. And I think this shows that not everyone is made for school. And I mean, I do need to admit that over the last few years, it changed a bit because I used to look down on this kind of positions because not everyone has the same kind of will and direction and passion for becoming an entrepreneur, building a product on their own. So, but in the last few years, now that I've been in contact with a lot of people that are very deep in their projects, you do need these people. You're depending on them because they have the experience, they have the knowledge, they know how to run things, they know how to build things. The actually execution part, right? I was working for Siemens for a few years, and for me it was I could not understand why someone would like to be on the same station for 15 years. But this is just me, right? There is no now. I'm looking back and think, who am I to judge, right? Because this guy, there's no one else who can do the things that he does, and there's no one else who has the experience that that person has. And whenever there's a problem, everyone goes to this guy, right? So there's a deep knowledge that I will never get in my life. I will never experience that, right? So I have deep respect for these kind of people.
Absolutely. And I mean, those companies are successful for a reason. And they run infrastructure, they build things, we all depend on our daily lives. So they definitely have like a very, very high purpose in there. What I was mostly also missing in this when we jump back to the interview preparation where they taught you, hey, like this is the goal, that you don't educate people around the paths you can go. And it's as it is for me not the right one to work like in a large organization and be in a fixed position where you just be at some point middle management and being like that the job is like to navigate in this complex organization, as it also is for others not to be like in a super high dynamic environment where you often not know what's happening next day or next week, and also feel very stressed in situations and environments very actively changing. And also, to be honest, when you build a company, like the level of adjustment to new information where you need to go left, right again, that's also, if you like those things, sometimes a challenge to get used to this. And there's so many amazing ways what you can do. But at least it's like my generation, when I was back in school, it felt like all the other things, they don't exist. And there's the one thing, you have to work like at the top 10 tier companies in Germany, and then you are somebody. That's it.
So I think what we agree on is that it's not bad either way. The only thing that is bad is that the educational part around what kind of paths are existing and how to do one thing or the other. This is the crucial part that we should, and this is actually the buzzword of enabling, right? I do need to tell you, I do need to show you, I do need to let you experience, and then you can decide what's right for you. Or I can guide you, I can help you, I can answer your questions, or I can ask, I can ask questions that that leads to these kind of things. I think this is something we can agree on.
I mean, I have grown up in a generation where this also changed very rapidly. Like the decades before, this was also mostly like the norm. Like all those large organizations and corporations, this was like there often were not many options. I lived through the time through like the entire .com business were creating computer jobs were created, and from like one decade to another, you could just create your own job from home, and you didn't need a facility, a factory, and other things. It at one moment became very easy, and like the education system not really was ready, also to have a view around how the job world, like in the next couple of decades, will change, and like the impact you give a person at being 16. Than having like 40, 50 years of work life ahead of them. Um, with the experience from the past, how it has been, is just not matching anymore. And I think it just became much more scarier since we have like AI and all those other things. The possibilities, how the market is moving, accessibility to knowledge has so drastically changed, where I don't know this currently because I'm not so deep into the German school system anymore. But I fear that like the gap between what they're teaching and what actually is happening is even larger. I heard from one other entrepreneur when like the ChatGPT moment came out, that I think in China, a couple of weeks after ChatGPT launched, that the Chinese school system encouraged all parents to help their children with using ChatGPT to prepare homework. So they accepted this is going to happen. This don't go away. It's not clear how it actually will work, but we need to figure it out. While in Germany, we're starting the very first conversations. Oh, that's cheating. If you're writing an essay and you're using ChatGPT, that's cheating. In before, and I think this type of mindset, how you see this, is very crucial on how you're educating, how you're preparing your children for what's coming. I think we have no ideas how the world will look in 40 years. So children that are now like in middle school somewhere, what type of tools, how they will navigate through a market, we cannot even imagine. I guess if we just take a look back in the last 5 years on how fast things have changed.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it to be able to adapt is one of the most crucial skills in life, I guess. Um, Maybe we can now go further. You said that you're a roboticist, and maybe this could be a good bridge to what you guys doing today. So maybe a short glimpse into that, and then you tell us what you guys are doing.
Um, so yes, I was at the tipping point of either going to music or going for technology. I decided to go for technology, but in the end, I did not really have an idea what specific. And I by accident found a study program that was called General Engineering Science, where you basically have like the best of everything, but nothing really in particular. Some physics, some chemics, some like mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, software development was awesome. Just like the full set of things. I did this for some semesters, and then you could specialize in some areas. And I was very interested even before I actually came across like working with real robots and mechatronics, like bringing like the most crucial elements of like the mechanical part, electrical part, and software together. And while I was in my bachelor thesis, I was looking in my bachelor program, I was looking at some point for a thesis, and I had a side job at an institute where I was like guiding through mechanical tutor labs, and had like a class of 20 people, do like psych exercises with them. And so I walked to the person in the institute who was running this part of tutor training, and I asked him, hey, do you have anything for a bachelor thesis? And he said to me, no, actually, I'm leaving in half a year. I'm almost done with my PhD. But next door, another PhD scientist has started a couple of months ago. He's doing something with robots. Maybe he'll swing by and introduce you, and you can see what you're going to do. And yeah, this accident brought me into, he told me what he want to do. We have in a couple of months a huge robot, like a couple 100 kilograms here. We want to machine carbon fiber reinforced parts with this, and like build like a more low cost approach of having like a milling machine in comparison to those super large gantry build-ups you normally will find in the aerospace manufacturing, where you're doing 50-meter wings, for example, with. And I do have a science project around this. Would you like to be the first one actually interacting with robot and do some stuff? Yeah, sounds cool. Of course, let's do it. And I think this is the reason, because I walked into this office and he kicked me over to the other one, that I actually started robotics. Because as soon as I could get hands on and had for the very first time, like a 2 meter robot arms in my hand with a panel, and you could for the first time just jog it around and see how crazy the motions interact to be super precise. I was in love with the technology, and since then I followed this over my entire career to do something with those type of technologies, because I love the idea I can spend time, a couple of days building something, and then in the end I can press play and it produces and it creates value afterwards. And I always loved the idea of I spend a little amount of time in, and then it gets like leveraged by hundreds and thousands of what it can do in the end. And it was a very cool time. So nobody really knew how to use those robots. It was the very first project they had in the institute. I had like 4 months I could take for my bachelor thesis. Like in the last month, only the robot was arriving. And they just told me, okay, yeah, we don't have any training courses. Nobody knows it here. Figure it out. Here's the documentations. If you ever looked into industrial robot documentations, you get like a couple of thousand pages of like the classic docs. There were at this time not really YouTube channels that tell you how to use like a KUKA robot or others. So I somehow had to figure out by myself. And this after some months then when the system was running and I could do my tests for my thesis, and like in last days just acquired data to put everything in my thesis and then hand it in. It was the coolest feeling to just how you also build Lego by yourself. You just start somehow and figure out your way, and then in the end you have built something that I could navigate to something like this and teach by myself how to use an industrial robot and actually created an application with that. And from that moment on, it was pretty clear I want to follow up and I want to make a career and like go deeper into this industry. Yeah.
I mean, these kind of accidents, coincidences, this is what makes it exciting, this to have this kind of podcast. A lot of people asking me, I should make it more entertaining. I should make it more so you can cut it into little slices and snippets and put them online and and let's hope they go viral to grow the podcast. To be honest, I like to hear this kind of story. I like to talk about these kind of things because it's just these. Let's just imagine you would have asked him. You would have followed the idea of looking into the internet for a job where you could apply afterwards, like this kind of thing, right? Versus you just ask around. I mean, this is one of the core things that I give it advice. Just ask is a key that opens a lot of doors, right? And just this little incident, and now we're here, and you guys building this company, and it could have been a different postdoc, could have been a different room, right? So I think this is very exciting, and I mean you could have just booked a KUKA course for 4 or 5K to just get to understand how to move, right? So what happened?
Actually, we did not have the budget in the institute to do so.
I know. What happened after you handed in the thesis? What happened afterwards?
I directly got offered a job there, and next funny coincidence that also shaped a lot of my career in my life. The guy who was running the topic at the institute actually was not working for like the university and the institute, but he has started for Fraunhofer organization, and they were doing a collaborative project where he was sitting like in university. But then he told me, hey, we're actually building up in the next years a 20,000 square meters new site that will do 1-to-1 scale automation development for the aircraft industry. We do have, 10, 15 millions of funding already acquired. Hall is empty. Let me show you around. We drove there. We actually then stayed in an aircraft size empty manufacturing hall, and with a team that was there of 7-8 people, played some soccer in the room. And then he asked me, hey, you want to join the team and do you want to build this with us? And we have a team that actually is dedicated for topics of making robots very precise, preparing them for new applications, and like building like the level before it actually jumps then maybe into like the first application into the aircraft factory. And that was so extremely intriguing and fascinating, being able to be a part of building this up to the ground. It was a horrible way there because the site was way out of Hamburg and was like 1.5 hours commute and getting there. And at the beginning, I thought, okay, now doing this as in parallel to my master thesis, it's super cool, but I will probably never work here because the commute is like horrible. I will never, I'm gonna do this. So I actually started as a part-time job, not as a student job, but I was like as a research scientist hired part-time. And then in the other part-time did like my master program in mechatronics, which actually turned out to not spending any time at the university anymore. I'm working for 100% all the time because it was so cool what we can do, and somehow managed then over weekends and over like some breaks to like prepare for exams and like do this. And it could have also been the moment where I just break off and say, hey, a university is not really bringing me any value. The courses were okay, I was doing, but like the real learnings I had was really building stuff at Fraunhofer. But I'm also a guy that when I start something, I also like to finish this. So I decided after like a year spending in my master, it's just 7 more exams and the thesis. Yeah, I finished this. It's probably going to help me later if we're going to do this. But yeah, I worked in for 2 years, almost full time at Fraunhofer, and then somehow navigated to then also finish my master in there. And this also sometimes when we hire students, they not really understand this, why I'm being so hard and crucial when people discuss so hardly in a student time around working hours and how we compensate like extra hours, or I don't know, if they can reduce to like maybe half a day a week so they can have their side activities, their hobbies and other stuff. I'm very tough around those things because I also personally don't understand it. I mean, having a chance working at a job next to a university for something that you want to become as a profession and want to do this for the next decades, and you have the chance for money to like learn this and have like an experience, why are you not throwing yourself into this? So why are you not here day and night? Because in university, you don't get these chances. You have like little courses and training classes where you at some points can have some hardware in your hand. But here you have like full scale industrial things. We have real applications. We're building real value. You learn tons of things. You're surrounded by amazing engineers in there. If you do this at a bachelor state and you're not having the same mindset of like, I want to do this in best case, like around the clock, then probably you have chosen the right profession because it not excites you that much that you want to spend extra time in learning and not just think as this is a job. Then you also can get a waiter or other things where you just work for like a set amount of hours for money that you can build other stuff. But then it's not something that's linked to what you want to become as a profession.
I think there's a thin line. It's very easy to cross that, especially you being an entrepreneur yourself, being very passionate about technology. It's very easy to cross that line in terms of why you, because you said your incentive is being so interested in the topic itself, right? And there is people that have this kind of focus and this kind of passion, right? But not everyone is built like that. And you guys can make the decision, I only would like to hire these kind of people because in the very end, it brings you further. But there's also like the opportunity to, or the realization of that, right? Especially men tend to do this. We take a lot of the way we see ourselves in correlation of what we do at work and how successful we are at work, right? Versus not necessarily only women, but hobbies, friends, family, these kind of things are also part of your identity, part of your character, right? And if you're focusing only on that, that can have a good outcome, but it can also lead to other situations in life. Let's say you're working very hard for a company, and especially in startups, this happens very often. We do know the numbers, right? You're spending 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, and 10 years are now gone at something and building something for someone else, and then it doesn't work out. You still are the ex-founder. You have a network. You have skills that are very hard to acquire. How to raise money, how to work with clients, these kind of things. How to build things, how to get a team together. But as an employee, then you have if you're focusing and working so hard, so many hours, and you're neglecting all the other parts, then you might find yourself in a situation that is not so comfortable anymore and not so happy and fulfilling anymore, right? So I'm just saying this, not it's a bad, neither thing is a bad thing. It's just, as we were talking earlier about all the possibility and different kind of paths, finding yourself in a situation where you're 45 and don't have a family or don't have spent much time with them because you were grinding so hard, right? It can leave you in a position where you can you're not so happy and passionate anymore, right? So keep that in mind. There's different ways of living, right? I just wanted to put it out here.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm fully with you that success and career is not job. It often is referred to this, but it's very, very different what it means for certain people. And I also, of course, frame this a little extreme. But I think in like the early stages, especially if you are in university, things are a little bit simpler, probably in life. You, in most cases, don't have a family. You're very free what you're spending your time with. You're also fit. You have a lot of energy, and if you don't mind, like multiple times in a week partying through four in the morning, then you have a lot of your day left. What you can do around this, and I mainly also were pointing to this direction. If you decide you want to go in such an environment and you want to go in a startup, and you really like to become extremely good at what you do, then you probably should have this idea of, I have an incredibly chance of learning now. I'm in my learning phases. I mean, in best case, your entire life learning, but like here, I'm spending the most time learning, and also hiring students is like kind of a trade-off often. They are not that experienced in like directly contributing maybe to features or to product parts. They also being part here in supporting, but also in taking something out for them to learning. And if you start in such an environment with this kind of mindset, then I would say you're probably not right, at least in the environment that I think an organization or a startup that is pushing technology forward and want to build something great, then offers to you. And obviously, there are tons of other things. But yeah, from my own experience on how I acted in there, it was not really feeling like I was doing a job, and I was not thinking about, okay, I'm only getting half the time paid and the other half I'm now doing for free. It was just cool what I could do there, and it was a lot of fun. And often I also asked myself, hey, maybe I not proactively thought, hey, I'm learning so much, it's so valuable. I also often questioned myself and said, okay, I'm just doing what I'm having fun about, but maybe I should spend some time in university and actually studying. So it was not this clear thing, this is this great opportunity and all the other part doesn't matter anymore. I was just following the thing where I said, I really like to be here. There were cool people, cool technology. I loved enjoying my day there. But on the other hand, I also have like the responsibilities of like finishing my master's in there. But it still helped me doing a lot of extra things. We were pushing back then for the first time this institute to be active on trade fairs and like in side jobs and like weekends and nights. We built like demonstrators we could put on Automatica for the first time, because it also helped us to like acquire new projects for the team in there. And just building a setup for the Automatica was something that was for me not related to the job. I just had fun in doing that. And it was super cool to put together the technology and have like a demonstrator cell we could put somewhere and just let it run for people. And that actually, I did this together with my CTO, Philip, who also is founder of our company. We were doing this weekend projects where we were building this stuff because we found it super cool to have that.
I mean, it's like watching soccer. Watching people who like what they do and are very good at it. So thanks for your insights here. But maybe let's go a little bit more concrete on what are you guys doing? Tell us, because I know the last time we saw each other was at the Slush here in Heilbronn, and exciting things are happening at the moment. Maybe you can take us with you.
Yeah. So maybe the story how this all has started, because after I was doing like the time at Fraunhofer, I spent there about seven years. Could do a PhD. I was very lucky that I had a lot of amazing students. Where in the end I could make a very very nice long-term project and then hand in a PhD. was founding a very nice company in Switzerland. I love to work with like small dynamic teams. With joining them for some time, then also had the chance to, as CTO, build up NEURA from the ground up, and could with David together like be entrepreneur and CEO on the side seat and learn a lot of things. And while I was doing that, I was personally going through a very, very drastic change in lifestyle, in what I eat, and how I think about healthy eating and environments and the ethical part. Some of this also was triggered because my father was running over, I think first time happened when I was 15 or so, the very first heart attack he had. And at this time he had another one, which I think was number 5 or 6, roughly. And my wife and I then really questioned on what actually we personally eat, and what we also maybe want to teach our parents on how they could live longer, and not having the fear that the next one could be at the end. So at that time, we very drastically drifted into being plant-based, and learned a lot about new ingredients, about what like the origin of food and is there. And at that time in NEURA, I was a lot hopping between Hamburg, Metzing, and sometimes also then the Shenzhen office we had there. And it was super hard and frustrating as soon as I left my 4 walls to keep follow up this lifestyle, especially shortly after pandemic. So I was also one in the earliest guy who were jumping into planes when like the entire airport was still empty. I still remember the selfies I sent my wife where I was like alone at Hamburg airport. I said, how spooky and ghostly is this? But at this time I was like traveling, like getting food was nearly impossible. Gastronomy was super hard hit. And I was just then also very arrogantly at the beginning asking, why is it so hard for people who do this professionally, who have learned this and do this as a full-time job, to deliver something much, much, much worse and much worse thought through than I could do in 10 minutes at home? Again, very arrogant, with no idea on what the industry is about. But this simple thought just kept me interested on what's going on there, how it's running, why are restaurants so much away from like good nutritious meal, and why you only learn to make something tasty but not also healthy. And in my experience, you can bring those things together in there. And then it was some of the silent Christmas nights between 2021, where I actually just scrolled around and found some videos of like automated woks, and how they're using like semi-automation in Asia already with like gas flames, but still it was rotating by itself. And then I discovered, okay, from what we eat at home, I probably can do 70-80% of this with that. And from that moment on, from a very based on the tech and based on the solution, then my mind started spinning. And okay, if I add this, and then this would be possible, and so on and so on. And I found out that after like a month or 1.5 months of thinking around this, this sticks in my head and it keeps me awake at night. It's every time I have free, I just researching and thinking about this. And at some point, I then asked myself the question, hey, maybe this is something that I should do, to be honest. And then I also just take a little bit of look at my life situation. At this time, no kids, still very flexible what we could do. Had now done a ton of experience on also how to learn and how to grow a company. And there also lost the fear of becoming an entrepreneur by myself. And at some point, I then just decided, yeah, screw it. Let's do it. Will we have a life experience doing that? And I just then quit the job at NEURA and found myself then at my balcony in summer of 21 with not really knowing anybody in the industry, and just try to get to learn, to get to know people, go into their kitchens and understand how the industry is running. And the basic idea and what we currently are doing is fresh food and freshly cooked food is something so far that's impossible to scale because it's very operational complex. You need the knowledge of educated chefs. And most of those business today are unprofitable because you can do so many operational mistakes where you lose all the money, and also the margin is so thin. So the only systems that actually can scale are like the type of restaurants that do fast food, McDonald's and so on. Everything is highly pre-produced, highly processed. And the idea and vision was why we not can, with robotics as a help, make this scalable and distribute this everywhere, that people just in every life situation have a choice to do something good. Which also had a lot to do with like the journey if you become plant-based. At the beginning, then you learn a lot for yourself, and then you also want to tell other people. And then you're finding you get a lot of pushback from those people because people hate to get to tell what they should do and that they're doing something wrong. And I also then found out that actually I also wouldn't like this, to be honest. I found this by myself at some point. And I'm very sure that more and more people will do smarter choices if they have the access and the choice every single day. And it's fully okay if they decide for a currywurst or for a schnitzel. But there will be at some point the day where they say, hey, today I want to have something light, or the weather is nice and I try this. And maybe I find out this is actually great and it was a good option and it was way better for me. Then maybe I do this twice a week. And this idea of just changing the food supply and the food ecosystem by just make it every day available what you can choose, from the guilty pleasures to the best you can nutritionally wise eat. You have always the choice. And that's what we want to do. And like build a robotic infrastructure that's able to bring this into the workplaces, into delivery at home, also into retail spaces, into care facilities, and so on. And now we're doing this for 4.5 years and shipping now since 1.5 years systems in exactly those areas.
Two things. Now, first, I wanted to say I'm really hoping that Automatica will come up with this, because going there, spending 2 or 3 days, like very long hours there, and then paying €7 for a currywurst and €4 for very small drink, it's outrageous, right? It's crazy. But coming back to the things that interested me the most are first, this thought that is in your head, and I think you described it very well. Whenever you had time, you were researching that. Whenever you had time, you were thinking about this. And I think this is a stressful but also very exciting time, right? And I'm always very much interested in that. Is it a moment? Is it something that sparked this? Or is it this gradually increasing over time thing that you think, you know what, I do this, right? There's two, like this is one part of it, and the other part, then actually having the guts of doing that. And I'm always interested in, not only for myself, but also for others, or not only for others, also for myself, what is it that enabled you, that made it happen? Because I think some people might or not know. So we're talking about NEURA Robotics, right? So this is one of the biggest and hottest robotic startups in Europe, right? I had the pleasure of working there last year. So last year they raised 50 million. This year they raised 120 million. They're working together with a lot of big brands, big companies. They acquired a lot of companies now. So the team grew 10x since I left last year. So this is crazy, right? But you decided, even though you were there in the very early stages, I think you said co-founder?
Yes. And so I was with David and 2 others, person number 4, like -4 months before we actually started NEURA. And I was part of hiring the very first team, who was still like one of like the crucial persons who run like the engineering AI team and so on. They were still the very first hires I did together with David. And then I did this for a little bit more than 2 years, from 0 people to about a little bit more than 100, roughly.
So again, coming back to this point, deciding, you know what, I gotta do this. I would like to decipher. I would like to get a better understanding. What made you able to do this?
I think the moment that changed a lot and actually making the step in there, I was thinking about this for a couple of weeks. And I think in myself, the moment I realized the idea, I probably already had the spark in there. I want to do this. But obviously, that's a major step that you're going to do. And you, of course, also have like the things and what is not going to work. Are you being crazy now stepping out of this in there? But the moment that changed a lot to me was when I actually was speaking this out in front of my wife and saying to her, hey, maybe I should do this. And what also helped a lot with this, that all those thoughts I had before, like, are you dumb? Are you crazy? Is this risky? Ha ha ha. And how's it going to work? And this is really a product or whatever. That there was like not a small side from her. And it was like extremely supportive. And I mean, she also knew me that I'm always like being driven by those kind of stuff. She sometimes always hates it because it also takes a lot of time of my life, which we also would love sometimes spend more together. But she knows, and also that's the thing that she also probably thinks makes me a lot of happy and makes me also the person. And when I was speaking this out, and like for the person you care the most and also is involved like the most in this, you get like full support and like it sounds pretty cool. And yeah, why not? And then it still took a couple of weeks probably before then for myself, I really find out, okay, let's just do this. But I think this particular moment, I know exactly where it happens, and where I had the courage to like had the idea, hey, I know you have been going through quite a ride the last 2 years because building NEURA was also extremely exhausting. And I was so many days away and so many nights away. And we had like the most intense phase in my entire life while doing this. And now coming with the idea of, hey, I want to start from scratch. And now I'm going to be the person in charge. And it would probably be worse than before. And not getting the response of, are you crazy? You now want to things build and reset to zero in an industry you have no clue about. But having this support in the moment helped a lot. To be honest, and like this, I think this is the moment that actually like brought me over the edge. Okay, screw it. I'm super fascinated. Somehow it draws my attention to this. It brings two things together. One thing I do my entire life, tech. Another thing that has become a crucial part of my life, and I think is also extremely important. I can combine this. I'm super driven by this, so it seemed meant to be.
This makes me happy. Makes me happy that. I mean, that you were able to articulate this so well, and I think you transported to me and hopefully the people that are listening, because I think this is one of the few things. These kind of things are not happening too often, right? I think nowadays there's more information and education around this. So how many shots you got, right? So I'm 42 now. You said you're 38. So let's say before you're 20, you can do nothing. You're a kid, right? Even at 20, you're a kid. So I mean, until we get retired, whatever that means, you get like 4 or 5 shots, because as older as you get and successful, not successful, depends on how you see this. My realization is things take much longer and will be much more complex, right? But especially the and harder, but it takes longer, right? So you got like 4 or 5 shots because every shot takes 10 years, and it's exciting that you were able to pinpoint this to a specific situation. I'm very happy that we're here today, yeah. And maybe we can finish the episode with you telling me what you guys are where you are at the moment, because I've seen a few pictures and videos, and we talked about this, but what kind of exciting times are ahead of you guys?
Currently, it's like everything we've worked now for a couple of years is now really coming to like a larger, wider audience of applications. And every week we move forward. We make it possible that by deploying new systems or being live at events, like you also met at Automatica, and so on, we just get more and more people in touch. And before I talk in specific what's coming up there, there's also one very important moment in the organization which is driving me a lot. And with like every system we are doing, it's fueling this. And at the early stages, like at 1.5 years in the business, we did have first prototypes running, and we somehow found out we need to bring this into real application. Otherwise, we have no idea if it's actually really working, if there's a business case and so on. But like a product for and with hardware component, with like all food regulations and so on, it's not that easy that you like build it 6 months and then you can ship it like software. So at that point, we decided to do a delivery service by our own. That we operated in a mode where we had like Monday to Thursday we developed, Friday to Saturday we did the delivery service. We told nobody about that we are a tech company. We were just listed at Lieferando. Was a super cool success story. All the people who worked there learned tons of things. But first day of opening, where we did this, and we listed Lieferando, we had no idea how many people are going to see this. Created a super cool modern Asian fusion brand, Umami Love, we called them back then. And for the very first evening, I think we sold like 80, 90 dishes or so. It was a super nice start. Very, very hectical. But at the end of the evening, I found then this moment that also inspired me actually going to the robotics industry at the beginning, because when I decided to eat better and also have a lot of more plant-based diet, it's like the choices I can do, my wife can do, we do have some impact, and that's it. But this evening, we made this possible for 80, 90 people. And I realized, okay, because of me, because of what we do, now 80, 90 people decided to have a better choice this evening. And this is just one single crappy prototype that's running here. And that's this idea of what just excites me so of robotics. You build something and then it can be leveraged into millions. And this is now the exciting time where this is going from a couple of tens of thousands of people to a couple of million people. We're going to serve soon. Where it's becoming for some people just a daily routine of using our system and being in a university canteen. It's so cool that when I look back at my university times, we had like the standard canteen, it's open 2 hours. And we are now selling the most dishes between 5 and 9 in the evening because people are still in the libraries. I don't know, having late courses there. And normally there's nothing. And now we're being the base for them that they can do better choices, have something fresh, and thus have a better lifestyle. And this is incredibly motivating and driving. And one of the very exciting times and what we are right now in, we have signed the first time like one of the largest organizations you can imagine in the world, which is the US Army. And we are, as of now, shipping the very first system to the first US Army base. So it's not only one of the most demanding environments where you have like 24/7, 4 times a day, people are eating there. You really run core infrastructure for their daily life. Also, as they see this and their soldiers see this, they are like top athletes, and the entire lifestyle, also starting with the food, has a lot to do on how well they can perform at their daily routines. And we're now being part of this for the first time. It also marks the first time we're stepping out of Europe and doing a global project, which is happening in South Korea, and with the team is pulling currently off to ship it there, doing the logistics, like the customs and all the things. It's so amazing to see from this super crappy prototype that served 80 people back in Hamburg that we run this now on the other side of the world for such a incredible infrastructure. And that's now the next 1 or 2 years ahead of us to really become somewhere relevant in daily lives and just get bigger and bigger and like have our impact grown to reach more and more people.
This is really exciting. I'm telling you, this is very exciting. I have a lot of guests here and a lot of very early stage startup people here because this is what I like, and I like the scrappy days, I like the dynamic days. But as you said, having impact, because disruption comes from adoption, and if there is an opportunity, because I remember those days, and I'm excited for. We talked about this earlier, schools. Like if there's. I'm now at these kind of playground places with my little one, and there's only fried food because it's the easiest to store and the easiest to sell, and you're not throwing away too much food because the fresh food needs to be thrown away after a day. So, just the idea of having these kind of opportunities to serve more kids healthier food, maybe for cheaper, this is exciting. I'm looking forward to see more of you guys. I do know that you have some things planned, and I'm very happy that you gave so many anecdotes and insights and your thoughts behind those things. I think this was a great episode. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. Also had a lot of fun. And it's also nice sometimes to have like the moments to think back, because normally in like my daily routine, I don't have them. It happens a couple of times a year. You get an opportunity where you can look back in the early days, question how you've made decisions and what are those things. It's very, very nice. I'll talk about that. Yeah.
Oh, you survived. It's
yeah, yes.
It's crazy. Hendrik, thanks for your time. Looking forward, like I said, to see more of you guys and talk to you soon.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.